No more food fear, no more should I rules. We pack the blanket down, fruit in a paper box, crisp chips, cold lemonade, sun on the picnic cloud. No hype, no extremes, just what feels right. Trust your body, babe, you do not have to fight. Fad-free food, that's the move. Beth says choose what brings you through. Fad-free food, peace in view, no guilt today. Just me and you. We laugh with sticky hands, napkins in the grass. Someone takes a second scoop and no one has to ask. Goals in our back pocket, dreams with room to grow. Strong enough for real life, that's the only road I know. No hype, no extremes, just what feels right. Trust your body, babe, you do not have to fight. Fad-free food, that's the move. Beth says choose what brings you through. Fad-free food, peace in view, no guilt today. Just me and you. Truth over trend, slow joy wins. Build it up steady, let the good life in.
I guess that's my cue, right?
It kind of just ended.
So where'd my notes go?
I hit
Oh,
the
here
wrong
they are.
button.
Listen,
Oh.
I chose seed oils for today,
Okay.
and then a deep dive into what that actually means and why we're talking about this, and like some of the other fats that come up as like quote unquote healthier options. I have to figure out like where to look because I feel like if I'm looking at you guys, I'm like looking off to the side. I don't know.
Oh.
It doesn't matter. Also, this is my grandma's dress. You guys can see me now, so it's so different.
It's adorable.
I'm the size my grandma was when she was probably a little bit older than me, like 40s. So I have a lot of her vintage, truly vintage dresses.
Oh.
So this one is as old as I am. She bought it in 1988. She bought it the year I was born.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, on her.
I had a sundress on earlier, but we were going to go out and it's like 72, so I had to put a top on.
Oh no, it's 87 here.
Oh, nice. Oh,
Yeah.
I love the blue. It's so cool. I love
But isn't that
sundresses.
cool how it's all kind of circling back into style?
Yeah, it's a couple of them I altered to like make them a little bit more modern. But then like this one I didn't do anything to it. It's great.
About knee length? Knee length?
It's like mid calf. It's long.
Okay. Oh, cool.
This is not nutrition at all. But yeah, it's I don't know. Video's pretty cool because then you guys get to see
But it
stuff like
is
that.
because
Yeah.
when you eat healthy, you feel healthy, you feel better in what you wear. If you want to twist it into clothes,
You could. That is
because that was.
I love it.
Because that was like the hardest thing for me was figuring out, post baby, pre baby, military, out of military, what to wear or what fits.
Oh, it's very hard. I mean, it's especially when you get into like pre-baby, post-baby, and then you get into menopause and post-menopause, and your body is just different.
Body changes. Oh,
yeah. And it's not that you're like doing it wrong and you are supposed to stay the way that you were structured at 20 years old for the rest of your life. Like it doesn't work that way. Like, and then especially if you don't have kids, but even if you don't have children, like women's bodies change as they go through menopause, and it just
exactly.
It is what it is. That's just the way it is.
It was comfortable one day is like not anymore. Like I used to love fitted clothes. Now to me it's like restricting and tight and uncomfortable.
Yeah. Yeah, so preferences, right? Like your preference changes too. It's not that those tighter fitting clothes might still very much fit you and look exactly the same, but if you don't like the way that feels anymore,
Right.
cool. Time for something new. Um I realized yesterday I wore a blouse that I got right after Roy was born, my first, because I needed new stuff that fit and it still fits and I'm like, this is really old.
I
But
have I have clothes that are probably at least 25 years old. I have, and because I luckily didn't get rid of them when I had gained all that weight, and then now that I've lost a lot of
oh
the weight,
yeah,
I
you
have I have clothes, and 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 I have one I know that we bought in like the late 80s. And I'm wearing it now. Um
that's
it's
1988.
yeah, yeah.
But I think, well, and that also speaks to like the fabric, right? Or like what it's made out of and how
Mhm.
it's made too.
Yeah.
I've got some things in my closet that are not as old as the shirt I wore yesterday, but the fabric like it goes bad. So especially if there's like elastic in it, the
Oh, yeah.
elastic kind of like deteriorates and things
Yeah,
like that.
yes.
But um yeah, and it's not always by price because like the shirt I wore yesterday, I'm pretty sure it cost me like $10. Like it was not an expensive thing, but it lasted.
When Ron and I were first married, I remember being, for some reason, in his parents' basement, and there was a chest and there was a dress from the 1920s, and it was this gauzy material, and I wish I had said, "Can I have this?" or anything, because who knows, it just disappeared. But I
Oh
just,
wow.
the material was so almost like, if you can think of crepe paper but in a fabric,
This
it was
is
wonderful, and it had to be from the 20s, from the style.
this is extremely thin cotton.
Mm,
Like but I know what you're talking about where they had some that was like even
like
more
a gauze.
delicate. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yeah. And one of the reasons too, over the years that they've like, laundry detergents, new and improved, was because our fabrics are changing. You
Yep.
know, you don't really have 100% cotton necessarily because you have lycra and different things and different chemicals and different fabrics, nylon, and
Mhm.
all the different things like that. So that's why, a soap that might have cleaned 100 years ago wouldn't necessarily clean.
It might eat
Um,
your fabric now.
definitely, definitely.
It does.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it
But then
would.
think about it. We used to beat our clothes against rocks and metal
Mhm.
Yeah,
grinders to get the dirt
yeah,
out of it.
Yeah,
yeah.
washboards.
You couldn't do that with, you
Yeah.
know.
Well, and it
So,
amazes me. Like you see clothes from the early 1900s and even into the 50s. The whites are white. Now it's like a chore to get white
uh,
clothes white again.
I know Ran's t-shirts, you can tell the new ones from the previously one. But this doesn't help us to know about seed oils.
yeah, we've
As
gotten far. I'm like, I don't think I can bring this back. I think we're gone. So
Hey,
I
we use seeds and clothes.
kind of
Well, you got
it
like hemp and things like that.
oh, there is hemp fabric. That's right. Anyway, so there's this general narrative about seed oils that seed oils are poison and that we need to switch back to um like beef tallow. I feel like came up, right? And the reason that this came back more recently, I feel like it circles and kind of cycles through all these different fads, but last year, RFK sat down at a burger counter and picked up a French fry and talked about having French fries that were cooked in beef tallow rather than cooked in these poisonous seed oils. So there's a couple things there. A little bit of history. McDonald's used to fry their fries in like beef tallow, and it gave it a much better flavor. I think it was beef tallow. It wasn't whatever they use now. Yeah.
No, it was Burger King because it was Burger King, not McDonald's. Burger King
Oh,
switched
okay.
out their oil because they used tallow because I used to work there, and it became not cost effective more than it was flavor wise or
Oh no.
health
So
wise.
McDonald's too, until 1990, McDonald's used a mixture of 93% beef tallow and 7% cottonseed oil. So that might have just been like the regular. Before the 90s, Burger King had beef tallow and palm oil blend. Yeah. So that just used to be the standard, was to use this beef tallow blend. And then in the 90s, it got switched over to using some kind of fryer oil. And usually those are seed oils because they have a very high, what's called a smoke point. And so it's the point at which the oil burns. I bet you there's a great graphic. Let's see.
And it actually lasts longer too, because I know like Burger King, we'd have to get in there earlier to turn the fryers on because it would, beef tallow
take longer to heat.
It goes into a solid. It doesn't stay in a liquid. Like
So you said like beef tallow would be lard?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because I don't think I've heard the term beef tallow before.
It's the same.
But I know what lard is.
All right. I'm learning how to do this.
If you look in your old cookbooks, that's what it says.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's all different kinds of, I know, right? You can get oils out of a lot of different things. And what you see here is when the oil starts to burn. So if you're using like your avocado oil has a higher smoke point than your olive oil. Coconut oil is a little bit lower. These are all like 350s. I would so if you read it on the side, I don't exactly like the way this is laid out because olive oil can start to burn at 325. It's one of the lowest, right? Wow. Right down there with the sunflower oil. But then you get into this nice sweet spot range where things are around 350 degrees. So the olive oil could potentially be okay, but it's usually not.
It depends on which olive oil you buy.
Yeah,
the extra virgin has a higher point than the regular olive oil.
So your avocado, your coconut, sesame, and peanut, all of this nice 350 spot where it's not going to burn quite as quickly. And then your vegetable oil and beef tallow, we're getting up towards 400. But then look at this. Those seed oils, right? Your grapeseed oil, canola, your sunflowers, those safflower, you're getting up into the 500. So way higher than these other ones. I have to close this thing I have open for work that keeps going off. I don't even know where it is right now that it's even making that noise. Can you guys hear it when it goes off?
No.
Oh, okay. That's good. So super high smoke point compared to like the olive oil, right?
Mm-hmm.
To use the seed oil.
Now, how does that affect your cooking and what?
So if it starts to burn, it's going to change the flavor of your food. Right. And so it doesn't taste good. It tastes burnt. You're going to set off your smoke detector. So it's not ideal. And these have a much higher smoke point. So it's a lot easier to shove them in a fryer or just generally cook with them than some of the other ones. Like olive oil is, like Mary said, some of them are have that higher smoke point, so you'd need to make sure you're getting the right one. Like the extra virgin has a slightly higher smoke point, but then things like frying, you're even looking at like pan frying and sauteing have a high cooking temperature to them, versus if you were like even broiling has a really high cooking temperature, but cooking, sometimes you're only cooking at 350 or 375. So you can kind of see where you're cooking at the temperature in the oven, which I guess is technically baking, versus the temperature of the pan on the stove. So that's why there was a switch to part of it. I think part of it was also this idea of getting away from like saturated fats as well. But there was a switch over to high smoke point oils. Oh, and Mary, like you said, cost. They're a lot cheaper for restaurants too.
And they last longer.
Yep.
Before you don't have to switch over. Like we used to have to switch over our oil when we used tallow. It was like twice a week. Now we only do it once a week.
This is for deep frying, you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't keep your oil for deep frying or for frying.
So yeah, not for like frying in a pan on the stove. No.
Yeah. So
what is a seed oil? Right? And how do we get the seed out of the oil? So there's also this term, I guess, online called the Hateful Eight. I learned a lot doing this. I'd never heard of this before. So they are canola oil, corn oil, soybean, sunflower, safflower, grapeseed, rice bran, and cottonseed oil. And the idea is that these are modern oils that didn't exist in your great grandmother's kitchen, right? Like going back. And that because they're newer, that there is an increased risk of being linked to some kind of chronic disease. This isn't true. But this is what the rhetoric is that's out there, and what is sort of like floating around on the internet. Hateful Eight was a new term to me. I'd never heard that before. I've heard of like the Dirty Dozen and things like that, but never that one. And I was like, oh well, I guess there's a, time to learn everything. So let's see. So they're extracted from a seed or a grain, and that feeds into that whole like war on like grain-based products. And there's this whole theory of like wheat belly, and you have belly fat because you've eaten a grain. And we should probably go into that one as well too at some point. But it's extracted, so pressed out of, they squeeze it until the oil leaks out. And that's the same way that we get oil out of avocados, out of olives, but they're seeing those as olives and avocados they're technically fruits, right? Because they have a seed in the middle. And they somehow are better because of that. I'm trying. I'm like, okay, I'm trying to see your side. I'm trying to understand it. The sort of feature of this as well is that these seed oils are higher in polyunsaturated fats. So still an unsaturated fat, which is we can get into as well. But then also high in a particular fatty acid called linoleic acid, which I guess is what they center a lot of these arguments around, of why they don't like seed oils, is because of this linoleic acid content. Linoleic acid is an omega-6 fatty acid. So omega-6 fatty acids aren't bad, but they are ones where like you would want to make sure that you keep like your omega-3s and omega-6s in a certain type of ratio if you were designing like tube feeding formulas, which we're also not doing that. We're just eating food, right? Linoleic acid is actually an essential nutrient. You need to eat omega-6s. Your body's not going to make them, right? There's a lot of things our body can make and synthesize through the foods we eat, but omega-3 and omega-6 are two things that it can't create from something else. And you can develop a deficiency if you don't
Mm.
have it. And so things like fats, like those, are used in like your skin, in your cell membranes, and also for like growth and development, especially for children. These things are really important for like brain growth and development as well. So that's where I start to question a lot of it, because I'm like, it's something that provides an essential nutrient that if you cut it out completely, you've cut out an entire way to get that omega-6. And most things don't contain just linoleic acid, right? So for example, canola oil has that omega-6, but also has omega-3s. So it has both. And a lot of things have both in them. But I like what Mary put up about like the whole industrialized oil production, I guess. Food oil production. I'm like, if we just say industrialized oil production, it sounds like we're like manufacturing petroleum products. And I think that industrial piece is what gets the emotional response from the general public, right? Because me telling you about omega-6s is not really like moving the needle on anybody's dietary decisions. But if I suddenly was like, hey, this is an industrial oil, like, especially for me, like the first thing that comes to mind is like a barrel of oil, like a giant metal barrel of industrial like oil. And there is a process to it, like Mary put up, right? The seeds are harvested and cleaned and processed and crushed and then filtered. And then some people have problems with the way that the oils are filtered and refined, because they use solvents to refine it and deodorize it. So I don't know. And it sounds bad, right? But it's not, like, it's been tested and shown to be safe for human consumption,
Yes.
right? And that's what we have to remember, is that no, it's not the way that like 6 generations ago they were producing olive oil, but it's not leaving enough residue in the oil through this process of these there's not enough residue of solvent in this process at the end to have any kind of meaningful health impact.
And it's not something you could really do on your own. I mean, yet you can grow sunflowers, you can eat sunflower seeds, but to go through and get sunflower oil in your kitchen.
But like, I wouldn't do that process for olive oil either. I'm not sitting here squeezing my olives.
Yeah.
I don't. And then I was thinking about it. I'm like, I don't even know where I'd buy fresh olives. All of the olives I see are like
in jars,
are brined. Yeah, I'm like, I don't think I've ever had a fresh olive.
No.
Yeah. And there are different types of oil production, right? Like sometimes we'll see on a bottle where it says like cold pressed, right? So that just means that it's a different process where they're not necessarily using a solvent to get it out. They're using some sort of cold press method. I should have brought up, I'm pretty sure the avocado oil I have right now is cold pressed, which I really don't. It's just what was on the shelf. I feel like so often, like, I'll buy things and then there's this question of like, oh, well, did you get it for some sort of health benefit? I'm like, I had a coupon.
I tend to use from when I do use oil, and I don't use oil very often that I can think of, but I usually just cut a canola oil blend because I don't deep fry food. I you know
well, then that's the biggest point, right? It's like, how much deep fried food are you eating that it's starting to matter what you're using to fry it in?
True.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I typically, when I was doing like counseling, right? And somebody was getting upset about seed oil consumption and really worried about it. I was like, how much are you eating of it? Right? Like,
Yeah.
that's the real piece here, is that like the dose makes the poison kind of situation. I've had people that had switched everything over and only used olive oil because then they're getting their monounsaturated fats and they've read that that's better for their health. It is. However, when you're using more olive oil than like you
The
normally
recommended
would if you were using butter, like you've defeated the purpose. Yeah. I distinctly remember somebody that had switched everything over to olive oil and could not understand why they were having such a hard time, and with like they were working on like some weight loss and heart health stuff, and I'm like, you're still like, we did a food log and I'm like, you're still consuming like double the amount of fat you need in a day because you're putting like a tablespoon of it on your salad. I'm like, you cow. One, I was like, you can't just, they had like subbed out olive oil for salad dressing, right? And I'm like, salad dressing's a mix.
Yeah.
Like, yes, there's oil in it, but it's not just oil. It's usually like oil and vinegar and seasonings, and depending on what it is, there's also like egg white and
Right.
yeah, sugar and all kinds of stuff. So it was a big like eye-opening moment to be like, oh, it's not just like salad dressing is more than oil, right? Point number one. And then point number two of you can have too much of a good thing. Yeah. Yeah. And so I feel like the last big war on oils before the seed oil, oh well, we could wrap up seed oils first, I guess. Like there's not a reason to fear them. It's time and place, right? Are you cooking something where you need a really high smoke point oil? Like maybe you're doing some kind of stir fry. You're not deep frying, but like you want something with a high smoke point. It serves a
But
purpose
again,
there.
you're not using a cup of oil.
No,
You
hope
know,
not.
you're
Yeah.
so,
And that's where like they have, I think they still make them like the spray. You know what I mean? Like the oil, the cooking oil sprays are really nice because then it's a way to control how much you're using.
right.
If you feel like you're putting too much in, you could always use like the spray instead or something. I feel like they don't put enough down, like to not have things stick, or start using some sort of nonstick pan. But some people
But
don't
then you
like
gotta be
nonstick
careful of the
pans.
non-stick
Yeah.
pans
Yeah.
because certain ones it bleeds into your food or scrapes. You know, if you use the wrong utensil,
And that
I mean, you're
is
screwed.
correct. That is
Worse.
100% correct. Your pans will leach into your food. It's part of the reason I switched to cast iron, was because I was having more like iron problems, of my iron being a little bit low. And so cooking in cast iron, you actually get some of it
Get some of
in
the
your
oil.
food. Yeah. Give me a second. The school is calling.
Oh,
Hang
definitely.
on. I don't know how to mute myself.
So,
The one benefit of cast iron, one is that, but two, they're also easy cleanup. The problem is you
I
gotta
have
make
never used
sure.
cast iron, but I tell you,
Oh,
I
it's
do
like
have some oh, it's not Teflon or anything anymore. It's a ceramic, but if they do have scratches, get rid of it. If you've broken this, the seal in it. Um, so, and I do also have stainless steel ones. So, but we
and
back.
a lot of
Yeah.
times the sticking issue with pans is your pan isn't hot enough. You need to heat your pan up before you put anything in it.
Yeah, I made scrambled eggs for breakfast this morning, thinking that we had little sausages, but apparently we either ate them or never bought them. So, so we had scrambled eggs.
It's
But
but also like this whole conversation, we keep talking about homemade food, right? And how you're really not going to get in that much oil if it's homemade food. This
right,
goes back to that ultra processed food discussion. Um, if we were talking about more processed food items, there will be a higher amount of fat, either from like a seed oil, some sort of omega-6, a little bit of, well, they can't do trans fat, but they can do some sort of partially hydrogenated oils to give a better mouthfeel. So it's like, if somebody is worried about having too much of these oils, the way to make sure you're not, and is to also cook at home.
true.
Yeah. Trans fats are a really interesting one, because there was that whole there still is a ban on trans fats, and you can't serve them in restaurants, and I don't think you can have them in packaged food products anymore either. There was like an overlap time where there still could be some, but I think it's fully weaned out now. So the thing is, though, is the way that, I should have pulled up, I used to do a whole presentation on trans fats. The way that they're created is by hydrogenating, so adding a hydrogen atom to the bomb, like molecular chain, to create a solid product out of what was a liquid fat, right? Like how Mary was saying that the beef tallow turned solid when it was like left at room temperature. That happens with saturated fats. It's just the way that the molecules are formed and how they react with heat or the lack thereof. And so hydrogenating, think about like margarine, right? It's a vegetable oil that then they add a hydrogen atom to, and it becomes a solid stick of margarine in the most simple of terms. But they call it hydrogenated oil rather than a trans fat. And it's like, chemically, there's really not that much of a difference. So this is where you get into that butter versus margarine argument, right? Of like, well, which one's better? And I feel like we're due for a cycle back to that discussion, because it's probably been like a decade since that's been in the mainstream narrative of like, well, should we be eating butter or should we be eating margarine? And it's like the beef tallow versus seed oil is just the latest iteration of that. And it's not, again, how much are you having?
Right.
And cooking at home is certainly a way to make sure that you're not having like a huge hidden amount of any kind of fats, really. One of the claims is that these seed oils cause inflammation, right? So what can happen is it's one of those, like, there's like a little bit of science to it, and then it gets blown out of proportion, right? So researchers ran controlled trials where they fed people more linoleic acid and then measure some inflammatory markers that you can see in your blood, right? And what it showed is that there's no significant evidence that those healthy adults that ate extra linoleic acid, like in a controlled setting, definitely were given more, they did not have a rise in those inflammatory markers.
Oh.
So it's just not there, right? But there's this, it's like, I don't even know what to call it, because I feel like there's this like very niche online, usually health and wellness space that's like very fear oriented, which is, I mean,
Yes.
where we draw a lot of stuff for this, right?
Right.
And it's that your body is capable of converting linoleic acid into a different omega-6 fatty acid, right? And that other one, arac- arachidonic acid, I'm like, I'm going to mess this up. That can be involved, can be, not is always or directly causes, can be involved in inflammation. So it's like, it's possible, but not direct causation, and it's not happening like every time you're eating linoleic acid. It's not guaranteed that this is going to happen. And what the research shows is that it isn't happening, at least not on a detectable level when you're measuring inflammatory markers in the blood. So it's like possible but not probable, I guess is a good way to say it. There's
But there's a lot of things that could happen. I mean, you can walk outside, trip over the curb, and fall and hurt yourself.
Yes. Yeah. It's
You could set your
It
house on
doesn't
fire
mean you
trying to
should
cook.
never leave your house, you know?
right.
Right.
Right. You would just like look around you. And this goes back to like anytime something is telling you like, oh, this is going to hurt you, and it's a pretty mainstream food, it's a really good spot to like stop and pause and be like, well, if it hurts me so bad, how is it on the shelf at the grocery store? And then there's
Or
also
if I've
like
been eating it for years, how come it hasn't done anything?
I mean, but then it's also like, yes, there are things on the shelves that I was like, I would not pick this to eat. It wouldn't be a great choice. But this goes back to that like ultra processed section or that we talked about. This would not be considered an ultra processed food. This is like that. There was like a cooking items type section, right? There was like unprocessed food. And then there was the section that was literally like specifically for oils, about like, these are things you use to cook with that were processed to be made, but are still single ingredient products.
Right.
Right. So
you wouldn't eat them on your own. You wouldn't sit down and
one would think.
and have a cup of oil or eat a stick of butter or anything.
Right. Right. Yeah. Not usually.
Hopefully anyway.
I'm like, oh God, I have heartburn thinking about that. But it goes back to that ultra processed food and having too much of it if you're eating something that's highly processed.
Right.
Right.
And you got to look at ulterior motives. Why they're saying what they're saying? Who's saying what they're saying? What are the research and the facts behind it? Is it just clickbait to get you to pay attention to them and give them money, or is it, do we want to increase our military, and because we no longer qualify for the military, are we pushing different things? It's all these different narratives of what's good and what's bad. It's like the egg, and I always use the egg as an example.
Oh yeah.
1 year it's good, next year it's bad, don't eat it. Next,
that one cycles just like butter.
And apples. Remember, there was this big thing about eating apples, and it turned out the people behind it, now I can't remember exactly who, but it was like they had an ulterior motive for saying that, which it had nothing to do with the apples themselves. So but
That's,
you have to watch where you get your information from.
Wasn't it that like apples had arsenic? Or no, was that rice?
Cyanide.
They don't. That's right.
So but the amount of then apple seeds do have cyanide in them, but the
Yes, but
amount
how
of apple
many?
seeds you would have to eat is
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah.
Because I love watching serial killer shows and things like that. And so I joked with Andy about it. I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna start buying apples and make sure you eat them. I'm gonna start making apples juice and stuff. And he goes, why? I go, because it's got cyanide. I can kill you.
But it's the seeds. It's not the apple flesh.
Right.
Well,
Right.
when you
Right.
make you ground it all up into
Oh,
juice
jeez.
with the seeds in it, and I'm like, and he's like, do you understand how much work you would have to do? I go, yeah, they're not worth it. No offense.
You'd have to take, just like you had that graphic of the sunflower seeds, you would have to take all the apple seeds and then break it down into, I guess, an oil.
Yes,
Oh
I
my
guess. I
gosh.
don't know. I'm not.
That sounds like a lot of effort.
Yes. Yes.
it's just too much work.
Okay.
So I mentioned that ratio of omega-6s to omega-3s,
Mhm.
and that's where there's also some truth, right? We want to maintain a balance of omega-6 to omega-3 intake, and we it's probably just the American diet. Definitely undereat omega-3 fatty acids, and these you're getting from a lot of it you get from like fish, right?
Mhm.
And when you're taking like an omega-3 supplement, it's usually a fish oil supplement, and that's
Right.
just not one of those high intake foods in the American diet to have fish. I try to make sure that we get it in here at least once a week for the omega-3s and variety. So when you're potentially concerned about this ratio of like, oh, well, I've had too much omega-3s as compared to omega-6s, yes, you can lower omega-6 intake, but you could also just increase your omega-3 intake, right? So there are things that have a balance. How come? I think I want to see that bigger. There we go.
Oatmeal cookie. Never thought of that as a big thing of
Yeah, but
omega.
see, so this is what I was talking about. Processed foods are going to have a lot more in there. Like, look at how much omega-6 is in that oatmeal cookie
Yeah.
as compared to like the egg,
Yes.
right? And then can you pull up like salmon?
Yeah, I don't see salmon on here because
Because
that's about of the only other than once in a great while having a fish fry, which is haddock, here in Buffalo. Salmon is the only other fish that I eat.
You want salmon or tuna?
I don't know, pick one. Salmon was the first fish that came to mind because it's what we had last night.
Yeah, I love salmon. I guess I do eat tuna once in a while.
My daughter caught a catfish, and we've discovered that she likes catfish. So I'm on the hunt for finding that, which I'm pretty sure I just have to go into the grocery store and look for it instead of doing a delivery order.
You have a fish market.
Yeah, it's not. I'm
But they
very
don't.
spoiled with how close my grocery store is to my house.
Sure. Oh, sure.
So I'd have to drive maybe like 3 miles to go to the fish
Oh my.
market
We can't have
versus my 1 mile.
that.
Like it's something like that. Like
It's
it's
just
so
I've
close.
never seen catfish in the store.
Yeah, so I do have a fish market.
Lisa
I
tops
could go.
a Wegman, so
While you look for that, Mary, I found there was another piece of research from last year, from 2025, that was interesting. So you can actually, there are biomarkers in your blood for linoleic acid. Oh, perfect. Okay. So the amount of omega-3 fatty acid content in salmon. What are the different the different types of salmon? Gotcha. So looking at like an Atlantic salmon, It's 2,420, I'm guessing, milligrams of in a 4-ounce serving of salmon versus like what were we looking at? The oatmeal cookie was
Yeah.
like not 9 or no, that was the of
20,
the omega 6s.
21 something.
Yeah. So this is
Over 2,000.
yeah. Yeah. So we can see that there's quite a bit if we were to start incorporating fish at least like once a week. It helps to maintain that good ratio and that balance of essential fatty acids that we need in our diet.
So oatmeal cookie would be just fine to replace the.
No, because that's got the omega 6s, not our omega 3s, right?
Okay.
So you got to look at what's in there. Yeah. So this study in 2025, so last year, looked at the amount of linoleic acid in people's blood. So not just a food log of like, okay, what did you eat and kind of like guessing how much linoleic it was. They just measured how much was floating around in their blood. And it was big. It was 1,900 people, right? I'm always a fan of like a really big study. It found that higher linoleic acid was associated with lower glucose, lower insulin resistance, and lower levels of several inflammation markers. So directly against what that fear is based around. So it was presented at a conference. It hasn't been fully published yet. But we'll wait to see that actually published as well. But it has been presented, and it is out there that this research was completed. So it's showing that not only does it not cause inflammation, but that it also helps reduce inflammation to have this. So it's not this dangerous oil that some people claim it is. What is this? Dietary alpha-linoleic acid, anti-obesity effect, total cholesterol decreased blood pressure. Yeah, the blood pressure is like a secondary effect to the weight loss because your body doesn't have to work as hard to pump the blood. Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see like what continues to come out because there's this push back towards like quote unquote clean oils. So your avocado, your olive oil, and also at the same time, a push towards lard, beef tallow, animal fats. And I really think it all has a time and place. It kind of depends what you're doing. Like if you're making a pie crust, like lard is the way to go. But it's not, it all comes down to how much. All of it. It doesn't matter which one you're picking. It's more of, is it appropriate for the cooking method and how much of it are you actually having more than anything else. I wouldn't necessarily, because we're terrible. Americans are terrible with moderation. So you can't say like, oh, like the unsaturated fats are better than saturated fats, because then you see people overeating saturated fats or unsaturated fat because they're quote unquote healthy, and they think they're doing their body some sort of like service to have even more.
But you're doing just
yeah. It's never like a 1-to-1 swap. That's the thing. And it's I don't know. It's that lack of moderation, I guess. So it is
one noisy
like I said,
bird out there.
What is that a bird, Mary?
Yes, outside.
Outside? That sounds like the thing is sitting in your lap.
because then I can shut it up.
Wait, what happened? What?
If it was in my lap, I can put a cover over the cage and it would quiet down. But no, they're outside.
Yes.
We have a rooster in our neighborhoods. I have no idea. It has to be like 3 or 4 houses down, might be on the street behind us. But that rooster crows constantly, not just in the morning. He crows all day. And it's just so bizarre. My brother was over. He said, "When did you move to a farm?" you know,
Get a get a little get a little bit of
That is
country in the
actually the
suburbs.
growing trend. Is
Well, I've heard
even
of
like
people having
Minneapolis and
chickens for eggs. You wouldn't want a rooster around if you're trying to get eggs for
A lot
market.
of a lot of places won't, like town ordinances will let you have chickens but not roosters
Yeah,
because they're so noisy.
it's definitely a rooster. It's not as bad as a peacock, but if you've ever been around peacocks, they
No.
make a horrible noise.
Really?
Oh yes, they're just terrible and squawk all day. Yeah.
yes, and you know what the funny part is? Is so David loves birds. And so his new noise or sound when he's distressed is the peacock noise.
Oh no. Put
And
put the graphics down so we can see everyone better.
and it's almost exactly like the sound of a peacock.
Oh
Oh
my
Because I
gosh.
wow.
couldn't figure out the animal noise and I put it on did a Google search, sound search with it, and it told me what it was, and I compared
Yeah.
it. I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah. They're quite noisy.
He picked it
But
up. So one of the other things to wrap up seed oils is that there is this part of this narrative of where the fear comes from is right is with our ultra processed foods, with our seed oils, with whatever else it might be, is that we're in the language will say we've noticed an intake, a greater intake of these whatever seed oils, ultra processed foods. At the same time, we're seeing an increase in chronic disease and overweight and obesity. So it's like, yes, those two things are happening at the same time.
mm-hmm.
That does not mean that like one caused the other, right? Because we've also seen a huge increase in portion size, sedentary lifestyle.
Right.
Like there's so many other things that are also changing that are a more direct influential link rather than one specific food item or part of a food item causing that
Mm-hmm.
obesity and chronic disease uptick, right? We also don't walk nearly as much as we used to.
I know I don't.
Portions are enormous compared to what they used to be. Like if you were to serve somebody a proper portion size at a restaurant, they'd think that they were like being sold short, right?
Yeah.
So
cheated.
yeah, oh yeah. So yes, are they both going up at the same time? Yeah. But that doesn't mean that one is causing the other.
Right.
You're having an increase in the portions and the processed food items, which is driving an increase in like whatever kind of name a fat intake. And at the same time you're seeing, but it's probably more of a total calorie thing rather than a specific nutrient. Total calorie and sedentary lifestyle.
Yeah.
That is huge, 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 huge. And I know that we really focus on food on this podcast, but like lifestyle choices and just movement. It doesn't need to be prescriptive like classes or videos or anything. Just movement can do so much for us in terms of like keeping us healthy.
And you can do things even just right around the house. If you have stairs, try jogging up and down your stairs. When you vacuum, try to do stretching and silly things like that. I do this what is called a chair yoga. I don't know why yoga is in it other than being trendy, but it's just a wonderful workout. And it sounds silly, but it's fun to do, and it takes like 10 minutes. So I'm trying to do it morning and sometime in the evening. Um, but just things that you do every day, just kind of be. I try to be intentional about it,
Yeah.
because I'm not outside walking, um, you know, but I am. So when I am doing things, I just try to do things being a little more intentional and cutting down on a lot of times if Ron and I do go out for dinner, sometimes depending on what restaurant, a lot of times we're sharing something.
Yeah.
He'll get a meal, I'll get an appetizer, and we share. We did that the other day. You know, and it just works because otherwise, at our age, I just can't sit and eat this whole huge, because I'm not active. When you think of the typical American breakfast with the eggs and the sausage and the all this stuff, yes, because they did that, ate that, and then worked in a field.
Yeah, you're
Really,
not going out to shovel out a barn and
yeah,
throw hay around. Like you're
yeah.
not
We
wrangling the
get in the
sheep.
car to go sit at a desk job. I
Yep.
mean, quite a
This is
bit of difference.
Here it is.
So
I don't
yeah.
even get in the car first. It's right here.
We used to
Um,
tease Ron would get in the car when we lived at our house in Clarence, get in the car to go to the mailbox, which is at the end of the driveway. I mean,
it's
Well,
yeah,
it can be something as simple as not park in the front of the parking lot at the store, park in the back or in the middle.
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
So you have to walk a little farther.
And there's this. I feel like there's a little bit of along with the fear, like a guilt of like, oh, if I don't clean out my pantry and I don't get rid of all these seed oils, like I'm not taking my health seriously, right? And there's like I don't know, shame maybe. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and it's so unnecessary, right? And I think some of that is a product of like social media and people showing like their whole lives and everything online, and then there's this comparison that happens, and you don't, just because somebody else has taken it to an extreme, A, doesn't mean it's healthy, and B,
right.
doesn't mean that you need to do it, right? So there's you can be taking your health
And two,
seriously and do things in moderation.
that doesn't just because they show their life this way doesn't mean it's that way. Most times, most videos, it's all curated.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
For every one video, there'd be 10 debunking it. So, back,
Well,
good or bad.
Yeah,
You know,
both ways, 100%.
yeah,
It
yeah,
goes both ways.
yeah.
And there's so much out there, and so I guess my whole goal with this show, right, is to throw my 2 cents in the ring and be like, there is a middle ground.
Yes, yes. Which
Like,
we really
yeah.
appreciate.
So we are at
Well,
time, and I
thank
really
you,
feel like that's
Beth.
a good spot.
Yes, yes, yes. So we'll
any
be,
ideas for next week?
Not yet. I don't know.
I had an idea
Oh, okay.
for next week because one, it's Len Kane's 90th birthday, so it's gonna be a long show.
For the one right before me, right?
My headset kicked out. And so, it
now
is
you
due
sound like
to,
a robot.
so,
Uh-oh. Her internet's really going out of it.
Yeah. Well, you'll have to text Beth with your
Yeah.
idea.
Tell me your idea.
I'll text it to you and I'll tell you.
All right.
Alrighty.
Bye, guys.
Have a wonderful afternoon.